is the 22nd day of March 2017. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on a KTN Newsdesk. Top of our stories at this hour, we are following up on that visit by the president in Gusiland as he tries to woo more voters to support him for the August 8th polls. Rashid Ronald will be joining us live from Kisii. Rashid, what do we expect from the president today?
Yeah, thank you very much, Akisa Wandera. President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to arrive here any minute. It's a place called Nyamache in Kisii County. And of course, to open a road construction here taking place from Nyamache all the way to Nyangusa. Of course, we'll be speaking much about that, Akisa.
All right, we'll definitely be seeing how that goes. But we are also live in Mombasa at the Legislative Assembly. Our senior reporter, Patrick Amimo, has been keeping an eye on the events there. Patrick, what is there for us today?
Thank you, Akisa. This afternoon, we expect the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, Henry Rotich, to give a presentation on financial management of funds at the county levels, because county assemblies have been accused of misappropriating funds and putting most of it towards remuneration as opposed to development. So that is a matter that the CS will be talking to the nation this afternoon, starting 2 p.m. thereabouts.
All right, so Rashid Ronald and Patrick Amimo, we will be joining them later on in the program. But first, let's take a look at the highlights. IEBC terminates a tender for the installation of an integrated elections management system for the August 8th polls. What exactly does this mean? Don't come to Kenya for now. Doctors' Union urges Tanzanian doctors to delay deployment of doctors to Kenya. And President Uhuru Kenyatta continues with his tour of Gusiland. Good afternoon. Our sign language interpreter is Maresha Owiti and I am Akisa Wandera. Now, the IEBC has terminated a tender for the installation of an integrated elections management system for the August 8th polls. It is a system that was meant to integrate the existing biometric voter registration, the biometric voter identification, the electronic results transmission, and the political party and candidate registration systems. In a letter to the French firm Gemal Tasser on Tuesday, IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba noted that the firm's bid was significantly above the budgetary provision. He also cited litigation as another reason for the cancellation, saying it had lost valuable time. On February the 28th, IEBC cancelled the tender so as to invite fresh bids, but was stopped in its tracks after Avante International Technology went to the review board challenging the cancellation. Amended election laws prescribe that IEBC should have the technology in place by the end of March. Still on the same, IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati spoke to our senior reporter Rita Tinina on the cancellation and what this means for the IEBC. Take a look.
But yes, IEBC, we are within our timelines. We are actually working to make sure that nothing stops us from giving Kenyans the election they are waiting for on the 8th of August. And I want to confirm to the country that we are within our timelines and we shall give this country a free, fair and credible election come the August 8th. The issue of technology, KIEMs, is ongoing, is work in progress, and the very next event is that the technology must be in place before 10th of April. We are doing our best to make sure the equipment they require will be in place before 10th of April. But the major event that comes next is verification of voters as per the draft register, which must be done from 10th of May. And that is the key date which you all have to make sure we comply with that date. So I think we are on course, and that's why I said if you want to have the details of that, we shall give a press release on Tuesday next week.
All right, before we get back to discussions on that cancellation and what exactly it means for Kenyans and the IEBC as we head into the electoral or the August 8th polls, let's cross over live to Mombasa. This is the third day of the legislative summit that involves the senators and members of county assemblies across the country. Our reporter, Patrick Amimo, is joining us live from there, and we'll be having engagements on the same at that particular summit. Amimo, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Akisa. Just the news of the cancellation of that Kenya Integrated Electronic Management System just happened today when the IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba did cancel the 3 billion shillings tender. It's coming when we expected that system to be in place by April. And just joining me is Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Just to give us, Senator, what is the implication of this cancellation of this tender integrated system?
It's a cause of concern. When our proposal was made in Parliament to change the timeline from 8 months to 4 months, we raised this concern that it is possible that somebody will raise a concern about the tender and then it will not be in place within the 4 months. The 4 months includes testing and many other components. We are supposed to have more collection, 60 days to the general elections. Now, if you have not done the tender 4 months to the elections, it means every timeline that is proposed, including the testing, which is 60 days to the elections, will also not be affected. And therefore, all Kenyans should be very concerned about IEBC and its work. And maybe they should be advised that this is possibly an opportunity to either go into a direct tender because of the timelines and make sure that they comply with our proposals, 2 proposals. One, that all stakeholders must be involved, the political parties, civil society, under the law, so that they don't have these quarrels. And 2, my other concern is that the regulations that would put the integrated electronic system in place are still lying in Parliament. Most members of Parliament are now vying in the nominations. And therefore, it worries me that at some point in April, when either they lose or are busy campaigning for their seats in the nominations, we will not be able to pass the regulations. That is a serious concern.
Looking at it, the CEO says that there's one of the reasons he cited is that there's lack of sufficient funds and also time constraints. That's the reason why he's given that he wants to cancel this tender. But way back in February 28th, we saw the chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, also say that they canceled this tender. They were looking for other alternatives after the bidder went to the procurement review board and took his matter there. Then he said it might affect their timelines because it will take 21 days to settle the matter. Yes. Now,
my concern about what the CEO keeps on saying is that at the first instance, when Ezra Chiloba got into this, the political parties issued a general warning and said, Mr. Chiloba, do not get into procurement of this system before the commissioners are put in place. He still went ahead and did it. I'm very aware when we were doing the public hearing in the recent controversial election amendment bill, the CS, Joe Mucheru, had concern about the equipment, the integrated equipment which they had attempted to procure. The law is very clear on public finance management, and we must tell Chiloba loudly that you cannot procure when you do not have funds. The president, in the State of Nation address, said that every facility available has been given to IEBC. It should not be hard to say that there's no funds, because that cannot be an excuse. This election is so important that we should stop some things so that we can procure the appropriate equipment, which includes not only the voting equipment and biometric voter identification, but result transmission, satellite transmission. So they must be told, and they must be told now, that if there was a time when they should start, sirens should go out about this, is now.
Looking at it, we've been complaining about the audit of the voter register, and it needs cleanup. And according to the IEBC timelines, the voter verification exercise was to start May 10th, and they were expecting to have these devices in place by April next month, so that the voter verification exercise starts, voter register starts May 10th. And I've heard the chairperson say that they'll have alternative methods to clean that register or verify the register. What is he trying to imply here?
You know, he should ask. The purpose of the audit of the register was the report that emanating from the last general election, which suggested there were 5 to 6 registers, including the Green Book. The purpose of the register is to remove people who are not supposed to be in that register. It is on record that 128,000 Kenyans share identities with other Kenyans. That is already bad enough in an election where we are looking for 50+1 or margins. So therefore, the equipment that was supposed to be procured is tied to the audit of the register. Because if you cannot be identified, then you are unlawfully in the register. And that principal register of voters needs to be in place in time for inspection. So therefore, Mr. Chebukati, Mr. Chiloba, and your commissioners, we are going to tell you loudly, and you'd better start listening to us, that the reason why we put that audit of the register is to ensure that we have a clean register. There are two things that are most important for this election. Only. Number one, a clean register. Number two, a system that will ensure that this election is accurate, verifiable, and accountable. You cannot compromise that at any time.
With these regular challenges to the IEBC, do you think it's ready for the August 8th polls and time is running out?
You know, I don't know why everybody asks that question. We have 138 days to the next general election. IEBC and Chebukati and his commissioners must be on notice because they applied when they knew about these timelines. They should work day and night to ensure we have the general elections in August. The date of election, I want to tell all Kenyans and everybody, cannot be changed.
Thank you so much. That is Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. just on this cancellation of the tender for the procurement of electronic devices that will be very critical for the August 8th polls. From Mombasa here, I'm Patrick Amimo. Back to you, Akisa.
Patrick, thank you very much for that. Let's now quickly take a look at the IEBC timeline. We have exactly 138 days left to the general election, but some rulings are seen to be giving the IEBC major setbacks. Let's just take a look at some of the rulings that have been made since the end of last year. We start off from December the 22nd in 2016, just before the year ended. High Court stopped the tender award of KPMG for the voter register audit. And of course, this case was filed by the Coalitions for Reforms and Democracy CORD, which is the main opposition. And some of the claims that CORD made was that the tender did not involve a professional and reputable firm to conduct an audit. Hence the reason why this particular process was suspended by High Court Judge Justice George Odunga. About 2 months later, on February the 13th, the High Court once again nullified the 2.5 billion Kenya shillings ballot paper tender awarded to Dubai-based bank, popularly known as the Al Ghurair. And of course, this case was once again filed by CORD against the IEBC as well as the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board. And the judge ruled that this particular company indeed failed to comply with the election laws. Hence, the reason why this case was ruled in favor of the opposition and the tendering process immediately stopped. And since then, just yesterday, we saw the IEBC chairperson cancelling the 3 billion shilling tender for the Kenya Integrated Election Management System, popularly known as KIEMS, and the IEBC is citing budgetary constraints, says this budget for this particular tender goes above board, as well as citing some of the litigation, some of the cases that are in court against them. So this is how the timeline looks. Quite worrying for some Kenyans, but we will be seeking to understand a bit more of what this means from some of the analysts we know. But at this point, let's take a short commercial break. Don't go too far. This is KTN Newsdesk.